It's 2024. Happy New Year. Welcome to the EST Hangout, presented by Mott's Clamato. Caesar, available in both original and variety 12 packs. A great pack size for entertaining and hanging out with friends. My mic does keep trying to fall here or something. Is it messing with yours?
Yeah.
There, how's that? Are we good there? I think we're good there. Matt Iwanyk with you here on the Hangout. Joining us, a couple of returning guests here on the Hangout as we begin 2024. Hernan Salas from the Edmonton Elks and Don Ellis, Contemporary Office Interiors, COI.BZ, COI.business. If you're looking for a way to remember that, if you're looking for office furniture, they are definitely the people you're going to want to talk with because they helped us out with ours, and it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. And Don, you and I... rough way to start the Hangout today as we were sitting there while they're ending the morning show and Canada just falling at the World Juniors.
Team Canada, I tried to represent, got up early to watch that game this morning. Terrible first period for Canada, just didn't show up at all. And then tied it up, beautiful second period, and third was back and forth, and unlucky deflection with 11 seconds left, and I might have dropped a little F-bomb and interrupted Gager and the boys, but I'm a passionate fan, so sorry. Any kids listening there?
You just missed it, Hernan, but it was a rough one because it's a deflection with 11 seconds left, and I feel for the defenseman. Yeah. I think defenseman bonk, like... To lose, knowing it deflected off of you, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, we'll have to ask Struddy about that, the emotions of the defenseman, letting down his goalie. And
so the defenseman deflected it in?
Well, it like the Czechia player shot it.
Struddy doesn't have a soul. He wouldn't care.
Struddy, he doesn't have a soul for goalies.
Gager just said Struddy doesn't have a soul. He wouldn't care. So that's where that's coming from. The Czechia player just shot it. It hit the defender's stick and just deflected the opposite way as the goalie sliding
off
across.
The post and in.
Hits the post because it goes the other way and in. And Canada fought back to tie that game, but now falls in the quarters to Czechia, which for the tournament in general, this is great when you have other countries have the ability to go win, the ability to go knock off the top dog in Canada. For us, obviously, we're always going to be upset.
I have a confession. I haven't watched 1 second of the World Juniors this year. And you know what's weird? Like, I'm a big hockey fan, but even when I was young, like, I would tune in, especially more when I worked in radio with you guys, because you had to know what was going on through the final games. But I've never been big on the World Juniors, and I want Canada to win and all that. And now with social media, you can pretty much follow along on Twitter without watching the game because everything that happens just pops up there, right? And I was walking in. And I had the guys on too, and then they were like, "Oh no, what happened?" And you go on Twitter, and I found out before, right? So it's like, "Oh no, Canada!" I'm like, "Oh, they lost in the last dying seconds." So, it's just one of those things where it's the World Juniors doesn't really do it for me anymore.
It's lost its luster for me personally.
Yeah.
Like over the last couple of years, I think that I wonder if it's maybe just because it was in Edmonton 3 times in like 3 months. Basically, it seemed like we had so many of them. I don't know if it has to do with.
Did you go to a game when it was in Edmonton?
Well, I helped part with the broadcast.
Oh, that's right.
One of them because we did the TSN radio broadcasts, and 2 out of the 3 I think I was part of.
Okay, I went to a few games.
I did too, and the cost is an issue.
Well, Hockey Canada made it this cash cow.
Right.
Yeah. And it took away, I think, the essence of what made the World Juniors great. And when I was growing up, I remember it in the Red Deers in those small barns. And you'd wake up sometimes on Christmas Day, but Boxing Day, and you'd see this crazy small atmosphere with this barn rocking. Right. And that's what got you going. It was about the hockey, and now it just feels it's this corporate event almost, which is like, is that the World Juniors? And that maybe is, for me, what is... brought it down a bit.
How were the crowds? Because this year's tournament was in Europe, right?
It's Sweden.
How were the crowds there?
They looked amazing.
Looked pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like some rinks where they only show the first 5 rows.
The first 5 rows.
It looks like it's pretty good, and it's first time in Sweden for a long time. So I think the crowds have been pretty good, and if Sweden, carries on, or are they out already?
No,
they would still be playing because Finland is moving on.
Finland's moving on.
And we haven't seen the other games. I will say I love also when it is in Europe.
Yeah.
Because I'm a sucker for watching sports earlier in the day, getting ready in the morning, sitting here before our show.
It's good for the show too, right?
Getting to watch some sports.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. That's one of the reasons I do love college bowl season, which sucks me in big time. But all of last week, as of noon, I'm watching a football game for from noon until the rest of till I'm going to bed. I just love that.
I mean, it's the most wonderful time of the year for sure. There's so much sports on, and all through the break. I mean, we had some great games yesterday. The college football was outstanding yesterday.
Well, just on a side note on the World Juniors, and this is kind of shallow, but if there's an Oiler prospect on Canada, I'll probably watch more. But I think this year they didn't have one prospect in the tournament.
Yes, I think they're one of 2 NHL teams that I don't think had a prospect at the tournament. Yeah. I can't remember who the other one was.
Matty Savoy was on the team this year on Canada.
He's isn't he Buffalo prospect?
He's Buffalo, yeah.
But
he is
an Edmonton Oiler prospect.
But an Edmonton
Edmonton Oiler, within the Oilers farm system.
Yeah,
and when you're looking for the upcoming and stuff.
He played, I think he played today.
What happened? By the way, today Sweden will take on Switzerland at 11:30. Latvia, US are just underway, and Finland got past Slovakia to move on. So
USA will go through.
Hopefully Sweden wins this. As long as it's not the US. I'm the person that just not the US. That's the only one. I'll always cheer against you at these international things. Always anti-US.
Sure
maybe Don will know more. Maybe you will too. Was this Canada team not as, I don't want to say as talented because they're all talented, but was it maybe not as good as some of the other teams we've seen in the past?
That's a fair question. They didn't have Connor Bedard or any of the future superstars on that team. I mean, they had a couple guys that top players, and look, they just fell a little short. I mean, that first period, you can't play like that. They lost today's game because of that first period. Came back in the second, but maybe they used up all their mojo.
Chasing the game,
Chasing the game. You can't be chasing the game, and the Czechs are good. Mm-hmm. They're big, good goaltending.
And when you make it that close, because you have a slow start, it's that one weird bounce that could knock you out of the tournament, which is what we saw today, is that the one unlucky deflection, and Canada's now going home without a medal, and Czechia's moving on because they had to chase the game because you got off to that rough start.
And, I think Lowtide made a comment about, don't come down hard on our young goaltender, and that's fair. I mean, he probably let in one stinker in the first, but the kid's been great and got an unlucky bounce at the end. And these guys, you can tell, they play their hearts out. Every one of those kids was emotional at the end, and I feel for them, right? I mean, they're young guys, right? On the world stage.
When it comes to World Juniors, when it comes to college football, all that, I always have to never get mad at the player. This isn't the pros. They're not getting now in college football. Now you could get paid quite a bit of money, but in the end, they're not getting paid the massive contracts. They're still kids, and there was a play yesterday. I was like, oh boy, I feel bad for that one kid, and can't remember which moment that was, but it's
the special teams.
There was many. There ended up being many in that game overall, especially Michigan, Bama, but
Washington, Texas. At the end, the interference on the kicker on the returner. That's just.
Okay, I'll go.
We'll get to
college. Those games are absolutely amazing. We're gonna have to get to those at some point.
But that's what makes it fun because again, they're so young, so mistakes are gonna happen, right? And it creates just chaos and opportunities, and
that's what college football is. It's like the World Juniors. We always say what's so great about it is that it's one turnover, one end is a rush the other way, and it's in the back of your head or something. The mistakes actually make sports sometimes the most exciting. The NFL could be rough to watch sometimes because. At times, it's perfect football, and it's just I want to see that mistake. I want to exactly. I want to see chaos. I want to see just wild plays. I want to watch a Michigan Bama game where at the end, I'm wondering if Michigan's going to make this extra point because their kicker was struggling all day. You're like, are they going to make it? That's what does make sports so beautiful and so much fun. It's when you have just the unpredictability of it. Where you're going, I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know what's next. Nothing is guaranteed. I'm on the edge of my seat because how this is so much fun.
Yeah, that Michigan game right from the kickoff was a great game. Beautiful bomb down the field, great catch. Dekes around a couple guys and almost scores, and then they drive it in. Alabama comes right. It was just great football. We had company over, and I was selfish and rude, and I watched football.
and it was just easy on the eyes, like the stadium, the sun, like it was just beautiful. Like I loved
it's
it.
the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
I went to the Rose Bowl in 2020.
Wow.
No way.
Like
Good for
right
you.
before COVID, we're family trip. We're in LA. Me, brother, and dad. We cut away from the fam to go to the Rose Bowl that day.
Oh wow, good for you.
And that stadium is just unreal. Just firstly,
Yeah.
it was built a long time ago and is still just magnificent, amazing sightlines. No matter where you're sitting, it was where we actually ended up sitting with we're by Wisconsin people.
Oh, wow.
And this one girl like turns around, she's like, "Oh, my dad's from Edmonton." I'm like, "What?"
Of course.
Why is this Wisconsin person who at the Rose Bowl next to us from? Like, it just made no sense. But still, it was just like there's a beauty to it. Like, and like the tailgating. I've talked about it on the Hangout before. Their tailgating actually north of the stadium where the tailgating is. It's a golf course, and you tailgate on the golf course.
Oh wow.
They shut down like right on the course.
That's on the
where they
bucket
do it.
list. Just to go to a college game anywhere.
The Rose Bowl is a beautiful one, and then you get everything with yesterday because it is just such a special game. It is such an important game. People know the Rose Bowl. And then you got two classic programs, iconic programs, Michigan, Bama, and then you get that game. That comes down to the final play.
Overtime, yeah.
An awful play call in the end. But just it was magnificent.
Someone, U.S. guy covers college football. He broke down that play, and he broke it down kind of like from behind the quarterback's view.
Yeah.
And it looks like the right guard pulled, so it almost seemed because it was a low snap, right?
Yes.
He thinks that the quarterback was supposed to cut left because if you look, he was wide open. But because of the low snap, I think he kind of panicked and he just tried to go straight forward. It was a really good break. I'll try to find it on Twitter and I'll send it to you. But he broke it down pretty well, and it almost seems like he is on the right track. That the low snap kind of hindered that play.
Threw him off.
Yeah.
Well, Nick Saban said after they had 3 plays, they called one. Michigan called a timeout. I think is how it went.
No, they
Then-
call. Yeah.
Yeah, Michigan called a timeout. They had another play. They called a timeout as Bama because they saw Michigan's defense, and then they called a third play, and that was that third play. But we all knew. We were texting yesterday. The quarterback was taking it. Yeah. It was something with the quarterback on that last play. It was either going to be a QB option or he was going to run with it.
But
Michigan
I would have went
knew.
option because then like
I
look
would've
like
thrown
you're looking like you're gonna throw, and if it's not there, then he has the wheels, to make it happen. But a straight draw, that's why I don't think that was the play call.
I think straight up, you just look at the end zone, you look for the throw because Michigan's looking to get to the line and stop the quarterback. And I think the play would have been there to throw it. But in the end, Michigan moves on. Bama's out, and there's no SEC football in the national championship.
And I love the OT rules.
How great is that?
OT rules are awesome. The CFL. Similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only question I said, because we were texting in about this yesterday, I know in regular season they've changed it, and I don't know if they'll do it in the playoffs, but after 2 OTs, it becomes a 2-point shootout.
Oh, okay.
There's no possession. It's just you go for twos until someone misses a 2-pointer. Because we've seen in college football in the past in regular season where it'll go 7 overtimes. And it just goes too long, so they tried shortening it, like hockey's gone to the shootout. I don't know if they would do that in the college football playoffs. I was really hoping we wouldn't see that because I think that would be an awful way to end the playoffs. But outside of that, it is the CFL rules, which is the way the NFL should go.
Yeah, because the NFL OT rules are brutal. They're way better than the CFL and college, obviously. So
both teams get a chance.
Yeah.
Defense has to play in both of them too.
Okay, so question for you guys. So they go to overtime, coin toss. Alabama goes, we want to go second. Wouldn't you want to go first?
No. History always is you play defense.
You play defense and see what you have to match or what you have to do.
You have to match. You stop them. If you stop them, you get a field goal. You win the football game.
Because I was thinking, I'd probably want to go first. Just put the pressure on. Because if you score a touchdown, pressure's on.
What happens in hockey?
It's
I'm trying to think what teams generally do in hockey. Because in soccer,
for a shootout,
yeah.
Well, let's go to the LA Oilers game.
I'm trying to remember.
Oilers went first.
But how's that? There's no coin toss to decide that.
There is no coin toss.
I completely am. I'm blanking
But
right now.
someone has to select.
Well, yeah, I don't know if it's the road team goes first or I'm now blanking completely on how hockey figures out the shootout.
I don't think
I
it's
hate
home
the
and
shootout,
road.
so I don't pay that much attention.
Somebody's got to know in the nasty chatter in the Paris
I wanna
Jewelers inbox,
see,
780-218-9999.
Does a home team select, say we want to go first or second?
That might be it.
That might be it.
That might be it.
But the only thing that makes sense.
We should add a coin toss for this.
At center.
Bring
Connor?
the two captains in and just flip a coin or do something. No,
Because in soccer, it's...
you shoot first.
No. In soccer...
It's a coin toss, but I think teams, that statistically,
want to
you
shoot first. Yeah. Because you have
soccer,
you put the pressure on.
And we've seen over time that team actually generally wins.
Yeah.
But in football, it's you want to play defense first because you want to stop them or limit them to even a field goal. And then, touchdown wins, field goal ties.
I mean, often the defenses and offense and football teams are really good teams.
Yeah.
Are both good. But if you got a really strong offense, you might want to take that first and go.
Yeah, because Michigan scores in 2 plays.
Right.
And then Bama's like, damn, we have to score.
But if you're Bama and you go and you shut them down
To a field goal.
and you limit them to a field goal, your team gets to go out there and go, hey, we're in field goal range already.
Yeah, that's true.
We go get a touchdown, we win this football game. And the defense now knows for Michigan, we can't give up 7 or we're done. And I think mentally that plays into if you're a defense.
I mean, we've got 2 teams now, Michigan and Washington. Neither one have won before, right?
Yeah.
Not in this iteration of the national championship.
Right.
Yeah.
So in this iteration of the championship, you got 2 teams. So I love that. And they play next week. So
they play on Monday. And Washington's moving to the Big Ten next year. So no matter what, the Big Ten's the national champions after the next year. Actually, these 2 teams will meet next year.
Oh, that's
cool.
Cool.
I think we're going to see, and actually quick, Smitty the Welder says home team gets to decide.
Yeah, Smitty the Welder is wise. That's kind of what we were thinking.
Yeah, and that makes...
It's kind of like your...
home ice advantage.
Home ice advantage, right? So, but I still hate the shootout.
I don't know. And maybe the nasty chat can pick sides here, but like, if it's the NHL shootout or the football college playoffs, I'd want to go first. I don't know why.
You do or don't?
I do. Because you're putting the pressure on. Now, there's pressure on you scoring a touchdown or getting that first goal, but I'd want to go first. Because in soccer, like you said, the team that shoots first usually wins.
But defense is harder to play in soccer on the penalty kicks. It's hard for a goalie
100%.
to make a stop.
The shooter's advantage, 100%.
Yeah, so in football, though, you trust your defense to hopefully maybe make that stop. And it's the same as why do teams kick to start a half and receive to start the second half?
Yeah.
Because you want the ball later.
Well, it has to do the wind and the sun and all the things, right?
You want, like, I think in the end, I would rather have my offense out there to go win a game than my defense out there to go win my game.
Yeah, that's fair.
I want to be attacking to go win. And if my defense could go and just get the stop, just hold them to field goal, heck, if they get the turnover, it's game over, basically.
There's so much that comes into that, though. So if you've got an injury and your defense has just been dominating and beating up on the side, you want to go in there and get that guy, right? Like if they've just been, your linebackers are getting through unhinged or your defensive ends are attacking, and you've been beating up on an injured guy or a rookie coming in to trying to, that would be my play. Go defense. But if your offense is healthy and you got some studs, a big tight end out there, go for it.
I also feel like it should matter based on how you got to overtime. There's a bowl game I remember years ago where it was the Bahamas Bowl. A team scored 34 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. Went for 2, didn't get in, lost the game. If they go out for the single, they would have went to overtime. And to me, that was one where you kick the single, you go to overtime. And then I'd put my offense right back out there because that defense is struggling. They can't make a stop. I go and just crush them and get the 7 quickly, and then that team just mentally isn't there.
Didn't the Lions do that this weekend? Detroit Lions? Didn't they go for 2? And
they did, and they blew it.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't.
Well, they didn't really, because if they're fighting for their playoff lives, they don't do it.
Well, and there's also a lot of confusion because Dan Campbell's just trying to confuse the Cowboys.
But he confused the officials.
But he also confused the officials. And then it's just like, well, how much?
And his team probably.
But that was such a weird situation.
Because the refs came out and said, no, like they were wrong. And then they're saying the opposite. It's like, who's telling the truth here?
We need to just mic up everything.
Oh, God.
Actually, everyone is mic'd up.
Yeah.
We should have a call. Like, the ref is like, NFL Films is like the greatest documentary series ever. Everyone's mic'd up throughout an entire game. There's got to be some audio somewhere that we can find what was said at that moment.
What should have been mic'd up the other night is Janmark after he got cross-checked twice. And then said something to the ref, maybe in Swedish and broken English, and gets 2 and 10.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with? Okay, we can get to that later. But NHL officiating, horrible.
They're becoming more where they have to be
Did you remember that
part
play?
of the show.
So Janmark's in front of the net, gets cross-checked twice, and the ref does nothing. So he skates over, and he kind of pushes the lineman. So I think that's where he got the 10. And then he said something.
The NHL officials is that like they're
Brutal.
they're becoming MLB umpires
They are.
where they're wanting to
Control the game.
control the game. They want to be stars themselves almost, and people and have people remember who they are, and their authority matters more than anyone else. And they're not there to just make sure the game happens with a good flow and calling the penalties as you should. They now want to be. It seems a lot of them. They are the third team on the ice, and they want to make sure
Just
everyone
line
knows
up,
that they
drop
are there.
the puck. They spend more time throwing guys out of the circle. It drives me nuts.
NFL officiating's bad too.
NFL's not as bad, I don't think, but it's bad.
Yeah. Well, I do feel for the refs in one regard when it comes to bad calls, not when it comes to, battling with
Sure.
the other teams.
That's
But
fair.
Is that with HD and the replays we have nowadays, it's very easy to see when they make mistakes. It's very obvious for us to find them like, well, of course that's a penalty. Of course, after we've watched 5 replays of it in slow-mo to go, yeah, that should have been a
Yeah, that's
penalty.
fair.
So I do feel for them in those situations. I do wish leagues did more to maybe try to help them. Like I would love the NHL to add a third ref who sits in the press box or up high with a bunch of screens in front of him and could either call a penalty in real time or rescind a penalty call that's about to be happen in real time.
Just call down
because
and be like,
he's watching the screens and the eye in the sky. And I wish the CFL
It
CFL
would
has
speed
an
up
eye
the
in the
game.
sky. I don't know when it gets used because sometimes they call in and the eye changes the call. Other times like the eye will fix this and you don't hear them and you're like I don't know when they go to it or not. But I think with the technology that we have nowadays, we should be using it to help these refs make the right calls.
It would speed up the game. Like in the World Juniors, like some of these, the timeouts to look at the video to make a call is painful.
Perfect example for the NHL officiating is the Lavoie penalty on Adrian Kempe on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like that
Where
was
he's
not
just skating across.
Yeah, and that's where the guy upstairs should be like, guys,
You could
that's
just quick rescind.
yeah,
rescission.
like that's not a penalty.
I don't think
Guys.
that's a
like
word.
that's just unlucky, and Kempe skated right into him. Like Lavoie wasn't even looking at him. So I think in that sense you should, but you also can't overdo it. Like you can't have the guy upstairs calling every time down. You have to allow for, like you said.
Well, like I think in that there's no slow-mo. Like it's not, you can't call a penalty that happened 2 minutes ago.
Of course.
But
yeah.
if they're watching and they see something on the screen and go,
Yeah.
hey, that's a penalty, they could quickly buzz. I don't know, send little buzzers or
Hey,
pagers.
review this.
Ref hand goes up. Maybe there is a quick pause. Maybe there's a quick review just to double check it at that point. Maybe not. Or maybe it's just straight up there's the penalty. But I don't know. With all the technology, with all the cameras, like we have, NFL has perfected this with the broadcasters where they have rules analysts sitting there watching games as they happen. And they can make calls in the moment of what should or shouldn't happen. Why aren't the leagues doing this as well to make sure that we're getting the right calls?
Because in soccer, I think VAR's kind of ruined it. Because they're probably 50-50, man. They're terrible.
Well, and there's different VAR rulings depending
Yeah.
on which league you're in and what they can and can't do.
I
And
hate it.
it's a mess in soccer,
Yeah.
which needs to be fixed.
But it's also that and then the dramatic diving in soccer that kills it for me.
But it's yeah, like VAR's probably the most inconsistent video in all sports.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is. Like they don't have a
bad.
clue. They do not have a clue. Like it's I mean, you can be offside by that much. Like, come on.
They want to change the offside in soccer. I don't know if you've seen this.
No.
Where they're talking, because right now you can't, the last player for the attacking team can't have a single piece of their body past the last defender. Well, it's not last defender, it's the second last person. Because if the goalie runs up, technically, it actually goes to, like, there's a confusion. It's hard to explain. But so you can't have a single piece of your body past that defender that they're looking at. They want to change it so you can have you can't just have your whole body past them. But if 3 quarters of your body's past them, as long as you have like a little, your heel is behind them.
That's going to get missed a lot.
And
that's
where they're looking, where they're going to go, where like your whole body has to be past that defender entirely for you to now be officially in an offensive. So it's basically like in hockey, where that player could stretch with their skate just touching the blue line, and as long as they're on that blue line, they're onside, and you could bring the puck in. That's kind of what they want to do, where it's your whole body has to be completely past that player for them to now be ruled offside.
Interesting.
That's what they're thinking of doing.
But those long calls can change the momentum in a game. I'll just go back to the Canadian juniors for a sec. So Beck turns and gets hit into the boards. And that review went on for 5 minutes. And whether he got pushed from behind, and then they eventually call no penalty. And it looks like the player hit him in the numbers into the board. So that should be a penalty. But that went on, like, it was painful. And then Canada had a little momentum right then. And then they kill it because they're doing this review for 5 minutes. Or it might have gone on longer than that. But there's been, I think, 3 or 4 of those I've watched in the World Juniors alone.
I remember Bud Steen on 1260 a number of years ago said that what the CFL tried to do is they almost like internally had a time limit on how long you could look at a review. That if it's not that obvious after 2 minutes of what you're calling, you can't change the call. Like if you're sitting there looking at something for 10 minutes, of course you're going to maybe see something that's going to change.
Yeah, you're going to eventually find something.
It should be like, I know we want perfection. We're never going to get perfection.
No.
So there's still going to be mistakes with technology when it comes to reviews and stuff. So why aren't we just looking at the most obvious stuff where we look there and go, yeah, of course he's offside. We could all see that within like a split second. Yesterday, Michigan-Bama, first throw by J.J. McCarthy throws an interception. They go to replay. The defender stepped out of bounds first, then got the interception. We all saw the replay. Oh, yeah, no, that's not an interception. Mm-hmm. Ball goes back to Michigan. Very quick, very easy. We all knew it. It wasn't a tight battle here and there. There was a play late, Washington, Texas, where the player, did he hold on to the ball or not? Did he leave his fingertips?
Yeah.
That was a really quick review where they looked at it and they went, we're going to keep the play stance. Maybe that's just like whether it comes to baseball with their umps, whether it comes to hockey or football, whatever it might be, you go and you look at the review. You have a couple of minutes. YouTube Trev just walked out.
Oh, okay.
You look at it for a couple of minutes. If you're past a certain point, it is what it was on the field or on the play.
Would you rather go old school and have wipe out reviews completely, or do you want reviews in the game? Because I'm old enough to remember there was no reviews.
Yeah,
and I almost enjoyed it more because it was like, whatever, man. If you missed the call, you missed it. But your team would also benefit from it from time to time, right? Like, but now everything's overturned and everything's reviewable, and it just slows down the game. Like, I don't know. I almost miss when it was just human error of the refs, and you live with it.
I like your point, and it's good because I same thing I grew up with as well. They're just too long.
Yeah,
they're too long, and
sometimes they're wrong anyway.
Sometimes they're wrong anyway. So with baseball now, they keep going back to umpires being replaced by no. You want that little bit of mistake now and then, or but the games are so fast. Like everybody's throwing ridiculous, heaters coming in and change ups, and it's hard. It's hard to record these things now. Like in your mind, trying to watch that and go, okay, that thing just crossed the plate.
I think that's the toughest gig is umpire, man.
It's watching game, how people could just see in the moment, like split second. Oh yeah, that was a curveball.
Yeah, splitter. I've always asked that. How do you know that?
I sit with Cam Moon, and he's like, "Oh, that's a nice curveball." I'm like, how do you know? That looked just the same to a fastball too.
Yeah, they all look the same.
The ball went from one spot to the other, and I don't see anything different. That's, I guess, why we didn't play baseball. Man. Maybe
like Buck Martinez. What do you call it? Like they just call every pitch, and I'm like, how do you know what he's throwing? Like, it's crazy.
I just to your question though about reviews, I do want it still. I like the human element. I hate when we get to a point where, like we had in hockey when they first started doing the replays into the goaltender interference or something, where like letter of the law, absolutely that's goaltender interference, but like the spirit of the rule, that's not. But when you go to the replay, you have to go to letter of the law. I don't like those ones, but I hate when there's something so obvious that gets missed. And I like that we can go correct it. And why it was brought into hockey, like with the offsides and stuff, was it Matt Duchene?
Yeah.
I think it was him with Colorado, or Nathan McKinnon.
No, it's Duchene.
Was it Duchene? Where he was well past the blue line, and they somehow didn't call that offside. And that's where it's like, I want those fixed.
Yeah.
I don't want those situations to happen where it's so obvious in that moment that we go, how did you miss that? That to me is where it's like, I would like a correction for that. Yeah. And I don't know how, though, you balance correcting the obvious mistakes, but also not going all the way to the official letter of the law entirely and allowing the spirit to come in. Because when you just nick that goalie, well, it's goaltender interference, but really...
Is it?
Yeah. It's a good thing Gage isn't here because you're going on the goalies. But... because it's such a business now too.
Yeah.
So
and
you get a
this.
bad call or a bad review, and your team's out of the playoffs now. That's huge revenue for the owners. So they want the reviews. The owners want the reviews.
That's a good way of looking at it. But even just going, I don't want to go into the debate of this one, but the Cale Makar offside with the Oilers. Like, there was a call on the ice that happened. I don't think anyone would have thought either way, because he didn't score. It was called, what happened? I can't remember, because he scored in the end.
Well, it led to a goal.
Yeah. Oh, and then they reviewed to see if it was offside. And they ruled it. But
the puck was kind of, it wasn't on really on his stick, and it crossed.
But if we don't have reviews, that puck just goes in, and we all go, "Wow, the Oilers screwed up," or they lost that game or whatever. But then there was a review, and we looked at it or whatever, and it was, well, people wanted it to be called back or something, but then it wasn't. And it's like, that's one where it's like, I could go with.
Yeah.
But spirit of the rule is like, we would have never talked about it really had there not been a review, but there was, and then it became this big controversy that happened, and that's where it's sometimes gets me.
One of the worst calls ever was the Kessler holding Talbot's pad in the crease that led to the tying goal. Like,
that's where they got it wrong.
That is such a bad missed call. And then you heard the refs, and the ref you heard him talk to the other ref in that game, and he goes, I'm not calling that on Corey Perry, like on Ryan Kessler, because they're in Anaheim. Like, they were scared to make the call. And that was, you go to the video, he's literally holding his pad where Cam Talbot can't move, and you still, like, yes, I'm not over it. But in that sense, that's what I mean. Like, that's what video review was there, and they failed miserably. And I'll say this. I love what the NFL does, and I'd hope the CFL would change it too. I love that you can't review pass interference.
Really?
Yes, because you know what I hate about it? It's just that a lot of times you're just fishing. It's like, let's just throw it and see what happens. And it's kind of inconsistent. So you're like, well, was it pass interference? Was it not? And then you just never know. It's 50-50.
But flip side to that is you had the Saints-Rams a few years ago in the NFC Championship game that there should have been pass interference, and there wasn't. It was blatant pass interference, and the Saints didn't go to the Super Bowl. Whereas if there was a review, we could have went back and went, boom, that's pass interference. Saints keep I can't remember exactly whether the ball would have been at the one or whatever would have happened. They might have went to the Super Bowl that year. And that's where I don't...
But it's funny.
The pass interference is a tough one because it's very subjective.
It is, yeah. Unless it's like, I mean, if it's your team getting screwed, you're going to be upset. If your team's, getting the benefit from it, you're always going to be happy. So, but like
you say, it evens out.
Yeah, it does.
It evens out.
You'll get the play calls.
That's what it was from Stephen Dame. It was the opposite. Everyone's scream was clearly offside, but letter of the law, it wasn't. But also, I think, but he scored. And in the end,
that was in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. So then they allowed the goal because
they allowed the goal.
It was, I think, first. I can't remember.
It was in Colorado.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, and that's where it's like when we're going to that frame by frame, zooming in. That's where I don't like replays. That's where I'm just like, I'm good. Like, let's just. I don't need to NBC it as they put it up and zoom in and all that. Like, but also I'll be the one that me. If they got rid of it. And there was a bad call that affected my team, I would be like, why are we reviewing this closer? Why are we zooming in? We got all this technology. What are we doing here?
Oiler fans love it because the video guy they had who left in this offseason, he was great at calling offsides for the Oilers.
He was brilliant.
I don't think he ever missed. Kupel?
Yeah, he was like that 6 or 7 in a row.
Oh, man. He was great. You knew as soon as the Oilers would challenge, you're like, yeah, it's offside.
Jay Woodcroft got the call and I was like, hey, this isn't correct. Something's changing here.
So in that sense, it's like, if it's
that guy was an artist. He was good.
I always say though, like when people are upset about calls, and I always like, okay, if that was done to your team, what would you say? And if they say yes, it's a penalty, or yes, it was offside, then it's the right call, right? Like it's just every time something happens, Oilers, Elks, any team that we cheer for here, it's like, oh, that's how can they call that? But if it was flipped, do you know what I mean?
Well, I do that. I think that a lot, and not to come after Oiler fans here, but something will happen, and it was it's not a penalty, that's not a suspension. And I always think, well, if that happened to McDavid, what would you be saying?
If McDavid got hit by let's say Philip Deneau, the same way by accident Lavoie hit Kempe,
people would be fuming.
We'd be fuming.
People would be fuming,
even though it was because no intent.
But that's where I always then go to what is the rest of what do the other fan bases think of it?
Yeah.
Because the teams in the moment are too emotionally invested in that. Yeah. Where it's Kings fans are obviously going to look at them, that's a penalty. Other fans, well, that's not a penalty. And it's okay. Well, what's the truth here?
And you can't ask Leaf fans because they just...
That's true. Can't ask Flames fans.
Flames fans.
Won't ask Ducks fans.
Just be honest. It's okay. It's okay if it's a penalty against your team. It's okay if it's a penalty.
Your team takes penalties.
Like it happens.
Yesterday, like my brother's a Michigan fan, like you.
Okay. Well,
and
I wouldn't say I'm a Michigan fan.
You picked them. You joined them a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But there should have been a at the very least running into the kicker penalty.
Yes.
And like even my brother watches like it's a missed call. Like it was one like no one could sit there.
Well, even the analyst they have for penalty, like he was like that should have been a penalty.
Yeah, no, that was really obvious in the moment. Yeah. So as soon as he got hit, I was like, oh, well, Michigan's not getting the ball. No flag came. I was like, I don't understand this.
Yeah, that's.
But
I was the linebacker, and that was a penalty.
That
was.
Well, and then what was it? Just after that, Michigan got called for a roughing penalty. And it was clearly a makeup call because it wasn't really a roughing penalty and there was nothing. And it was just like, well, there's your makeup call for over there.
That's what I hate about officiating, especially in the NHL. So they miss a call, right? Or they make a bad call and then they punish the other team because of their mistake.
Right. I owe you one.
Yeah, like, no, that's your fault. Don't punish the other team. Yeah. Like, that's what I hate about it. And I know we at the old place, we used to have this discussion all the time. Call a penalty, regardless if it's 8-1, 2-2, overtime in the Stanley Cup play. A penalty is a penalty. And for me, it's like, call it. I don't care, put the whistle. Don't game manage. Just, your job is to referee the game. If there's a penalty, regardless of the score or the moment in the game, do it. That's what I hate about the NHL, is it's just that it's like, well, we made a mistake, so we owe this team a power play. No, that's not how this works.
If a team takes 5 straight penalties,
so be it.
They take 5 straight penalties. They go to the box 5 straight times. I don't like we've called 2 penalties on them. We're going to let a few go, and we got to call a penalty the other way. That's where, to me, it's...
Yeah, that's
not game management.
That's been going on for a long time.
And that's a change I would like to see from the officials. Where
you saw in the San Jose Anaheim games, they were out of hand, right? Oilers were leading by big, and probably 2-3 penalties could have been called, but they don't call it because the game is so out of reach. Who cares, man? Call the penalty. You know, like if the Oilers are winning 6-1, why does it matter?
It's and it completely changes come playoffs. Right?
They don't call anything.
No, they don't call anything. So get maybe the last month of the season, start calling it like you're going to be in the playoffs. Just so everybody knows what's coming.
But see, that bothers me too, because why change in the playoffs?
But they do every year.
See you, gents.
Travis just opened up the doors. We have no one else here at the EST studio, so I have to be receptionist while on air at the Hangout. Have fun with pregame, Trev.
Why change in the playoffs? I hate that. Look, it happens. It's been happening for decades. But why do you change the way you call a game in the playoffs?
Or give us the second rule book. Tell us what is and isn't a penalty come playoff time. Like, actually show us, because I've always maintained if it's a penalty on October 10th and it's an October penalty on January 13th, it should also be a penalty May 12th. Doesn't matter. I don't care if it's OT of a game.
You're punishing teams that are good on the power play, like the Edmonton Oilers. Like this year, Vancouver's good, Tampa Bay's good in the power. So you're punishing these teams that not, I won't say live off the power play, but it's a big part of their success because in the playoffs it's a different game. No, it's not. It's still hockey. Just call it.
Take a penalty. You go to the
Don't
box.
take a penalty then
That's
if
the
you're
thing.
playing the Oilers or whoever else has a great power play.
Well, and I've always just felt like people say that hockey will turn into a game of just power plays at that point. And to me, it's no, because players will have to adjust.
Yeah.
That first week or two, if all they did was call the rule book, called all the penalties, didn't care which way, they just, okay, there's a penalty, we're calling it, there's a penalty, we're calling it, and they did that. First couple of weeks, we would see a bunch of power plays.
Oh, 100%.
But eventually coaches would be like, hey, we're going to need to adjust here. And if you're not willing to adjust, well, you're not going to see the ice. Because we'll find someone else who will adjust. So you can see the ice. And in exchange, I do also then believe we'll see the skill and the stars elevate. And we'll see them shine a bit more. Because we're not trying to then bring down the stars. Give tools to that fourth line, center or the third pairing defenseman to try to stop McDavid or contain McDavid. We're going, well, you got to try to stop him if you're on the ice with him within the rule book. And if you can't, so be it. That's on you.
Look at the Edmonton LA game on Saturday. It was late in the third.
Great game, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, fantastic. And they called a penalty. That's the way it should be. With 6 minutes left or whatever, 8 minutes, I think it was. LA fans were probably like, how do you call that at this? But sorry, it was a penalty.
It was a penalty.
Do you know who actually does a good job, weirdly enough, I think, of not having a separate rule book almost? Would actually be soccer.
Yeah.
They will call a penalty in the 89th minute if they have to.
Yeah.
If they see a handball, they will point to the spot and go, the kick's happening. And the soccer world doesn't go, it's late in the World Cup. You can't call that. It's just, that's a handball. I will actually give credit to soccer on that one. That's maybe the one sport, because in basketball, we get it.
Yeah.
Like where you can't call that one a foul. Baseball, it's too static for anything to change. The baseball is baseball. Yeah. Football will go sometimes with, well, you can't call that PI there. Or how do you not?
I mean, I grew up watching basketball with Julius Erving, and it was a different game. Charles Malone.
Very
it was a war. Yeah. Like, you got the crap kicked out of you in those games. Now it's you can't touch anybody, and it's
a 3-ball.
It's a 3-ball.
It's
a
the game is
3-ball game.
Completely changed.
I don't even watch it anymore, to be honest with you. I go watch the Stingers. I think it's more enjoyable basketball for me. But the NBA, I can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, because I grew up watching my first team was the New York Knicks of the early 90s, and those guys were
beasts.
Beasts. Like, if you wanted to go into the paint, you're gonna get bloodied up. But now what happens with basketball, and I agree with you guys, like, it's hard to watch because everything's a foul, and when it's not, the players, all they do is complain, throw their hands up. Like, not everything's the game is slowed down so much because almost every second play is a damn foul. Like, that's what basketball is now.
And Dusty's boy LeBron complains more than anybody. And I love him. He's a great basketball player, but holy cow.
He gets the calls though.
Huh?
Dusty will tell you he doesn't.
Oh God! Come on!
I won't go into Dusty. Before Dusty had his time off, he threw out a stat of LeBron of guys who had the chance to go to a free throw line 15 times or more in a single game, how many times they've had it in like a 3-year span, and LeBron was at 0.
You go back to those games with Michael Jordan, and guys were trying to take his head off.
Well, and that was before my time, but The Last Dance, watching The Last Dance and seeing how the Pistons came up and how they went up against those Bulls, and it's just like, damn, that was different.
Scottie Pippen was a mean
SOB.
So was Jordan though. Like
Jordan was
he wouldn't obviously didn't back down from anyone, but because when Chicago beat the Pistons were just, I think they had just won 2 or 1 championship. So and then the Pistons, when they got eliminated, didn't even shake their hands. Back then, it was like that.
They hated each other.
You watch some old Larry Bird tapes. Larry Bird was mean as a snake.
Bill Lambier.
Oh! See, I don't think Dusty watched any of the real basketball.
No.
And,
Well, he thinks LeBron's the greatest.
Well, he's pretty good, but...
top 3.
Greatest?
LeBron is one of those guys, though, of this age, I think could have played in that because he's big enough.
He's big.
He would have changed. There's not a lot of NBA players right now that you could look at.
He's a stud for sure.
No, and I like
Steph
LeBron,
Curry couldn't have played in that NBA.
Oh no,
he's not that stuff. But a lot of those players of that NBA, if you put them in this NBA, like Jordan, what would have he done in this era?
Oh,
Steph Curry also changed the game, making 3-pointers.
He absolutely
he's
has.
just unbelievable.
just unreal.
He's amazing to watch.
Yeah.
And he the Hall of Famer, he'll go.
You know who could have
But
played
he's not
in
a
the
guy that
90s?
goes backwards. But like Jordan in this day and age would have just eaten everyone up.
Yeah, no. I mean, LeBron's just unreal in the way he keeps playing. But
Who could have played?
Draymond?
Oh, Draymond was built for the 80s, 90s
he was.
NBA.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his. There's a guy that was born a little late.
Yeah. An old soul.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah, no, Draymond would have loved.
Because
There's Pistons written all over him.
we always talk about the TNT panel, which is the greatest in sports: Charles, Kenny, Shaq,
Yes.
and
Ernie.
Ernie. And I always tell like younger people that didn't get to see that era, like Charles Barkley, tough as SOB, but he was a great player, like great.
MVP, and the only reason he doesn't win a ring is
Jordan.
because he went up against Jordan. Like
100%.
Yeah.
That team was so good with Barkley and mean. He was.
He was a mean SOB.
But it's also great when on that panel, Shaq throws up how many rings he has, and Barkley has no response to it because it's just
Shaq
like,
is
how many
such a-
rings?
no,
do you
he was always like, Kobe carried your.
Oh, that was the big argument.
Kobe
And then
carried
he
you.
threw out how many NBA Finals MVPs he even has and stuff, and it's
The best was when Kenny
they're
was talking
great.
about his Rockets team, and they're like, "Well, who was the leader?" And then Kenny goes, "Well, I think I was." And then they were like, "No, you weren't. It was Maxwell or whatever." That's the best.
That's a
panel.
great-
I love
that
it.
is-
I love it.
great
I always
panel.
watch their hits on YouTube because
so
I don't watch them
funny.
live, but they're great.
a couple texts in the Paris Jewels inbox 780-218-9999. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's, Clamato, Caesar, Don Ellis, Hernan Salas, Matt Iwanyk with you here. Happy New Year to everyone. Dex saying Curry made basketball that would have gotten you sat for taking bad shots into the way it is done now. What do we have? Jasmine had a question. Happy New Year's, guys. Maddie, who do you think won the Raps-Knicks trade? Did you follow that trade a lot?
Yes, that was.
I don't know who won it, but everyone that I saw on Twitter with RJ Barrett going to the Raps and OG going to the Knicks
Knicks.
was a good trade for both sides. Just that we're on the NBA right now.
You know what's crazy, Maddie, is that there's far more smarter people when it comes to the NBA than me. And I talked to my boy Brian Swain, and just seeing it on Twitter, I think more analysts and people that cover basketball are more excited for Quickly than RJ Barrett on the Raptors. They
Interesting. Okay.
think, yeah, most people were like, this guy's gonna like be their point. He's gonna be their leader. He plays with energy. So I asked, and shout out to Brian Swain. I asked him, I go, what's the deal? Because I didn't know much about Quickly. He goes, no, this guy's a baller. He was behind a couple elite guys in New York. Where RJ Barrett, he goes, he's just inconsistent. Like he can put 40 up one night and have 2 points the next night. So, but playing at home, I think for him it's going to be huge. And OG's one of the best defenders in the league, and you saw his impact yesterday in that game for the Knicks. So I almost think it's just like both teams are very happy with the trade. I think
Contract-wise, you get a younger, longer signed player in RJ Barrett for the Raps.
I think the Raps got younger and they got a lot more skilled and a lot more shooting. And someone made a great point on the broadcast yesterday. I can't remember who it was, and he said RJ Barrett's coming to Toronto's hometown after spending a lot of years in New York, like a media kind of mecca, where now Toronto's not going to faze him. Like he's not going to be overwhelmed by the attention by being at home because he was in New York.
And you're playing for the Knicks.
Yeah, so he goes, it's perfect for him to come in his fourth, fifth year here. So it's exciting. They won yesterday against the Cavs. So I don't know, Maddie. I almost think both teams are very, very happy. Again, what you saw on
It
Twitter,
wasn't a great day after the trade, though, when the Raptors lost to the Pistons right away, that night.
but it seems like analysts, like in the U.S. especially, because I won't go to Toronto because they might be a little biased, but a lot of people said the Raptors won this trade because of Quickly.
I'm just sad that RJ Barrett's not going to playoffs this year.
Well, you don't
I
know
like
that.
seeing Canadians in the playoffs. What do you mean I don't? Well,
You don't know.
he doesn't have he doesn't have the shot.
They can go on a heater.
Let's say he doesn't have the shot of actually maybe doing something in the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Knicks, which is a weird thing to say.
But there's a lot of Canadians going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, there will be. And there was a ranking I saw of top 30 NBA players this past calendar year, 2023, and Shai was like number 7. and Jamal Murray was like 20, which is really cool to see. Just
How
Canadians
cool is that?
considered
Yeah.
some of the best NBA players.
And Shai is just amazing, man. And he won that. Remember last time?
Yeah,
we were
the
talking
North
about,
Star work.
Yeah,
the
that's cool.
top Canadian in 2000.
I think we brought him up briefly. We're like, he's not gonna win.
I didn't think they would go to the basketball guy, but the thing we didn't really talk enough about at that time was
the Olympic.
that he carried Canada, or he helped lead Canada to their first Olympic appearance in
medal.
04, was it 2000? I think it was 2000, which is going to be a big deal this year. Actually, we have a great summer coming up.
A very good summer coming.
Summer Olympics are always just
I like
a
them.
lot of fun.
A lot of money.
Oh, they're the best.
A lot of money.
A lot of money.
It's the business of it is just awful.
It's out of hand. Like the countries never recover from.
I'm actually surprised how many big cities and big countries have gone back into it, because there was a point where it looked like the world was kind of be like, we're done with the Olympics. We can't pay for this anymore with the IOC. We're good. There was the Winter Olympics that ultimately went to Italy in 2000 and they're going to Italy now. Maybe it is this upcut.
They're going to Italy
in
now,
28 and 26.
Which they
might
don't
have been
a-
that
They
one.
don't have a hockey arena built yet.
They don't. Which I didn't read the article. I thought they're maybe talking about moving it to North America.
Maybe.
The hockey part there, because you have rinks here, and
Yeah, that's
for
interesting.
TV audience, you can maybe get it done.
Different timelines.
I'd have to see if I can find
That's
that
interesting.
article again and look at it. But like no one wanted those Olympics. Calgary said no, and Sweden said no, and everyone was saying no. And it doesn't seem like, I think the winter we're seeing more people being like, yeah, we're good. But the summers, it's Paris, it's going to LA, then it's going to, where's it going after that? Is it going to Australia again or something? Like, I think it is Australia. Like it's like for the summer, the countries are still being like, the big money is still being spent on it, which surprised me, because to your, like, security alone, the cost to make sure you're secure for a Summer Olympics is massive, and I'm seeing people still pay that money.
Well, yeah, you have to do your infrastructure for your transit. A lot of cities don't have enough hotels for it.
Yep.
It would have been great to see it back in Calgary. I love the Calgary Olympics. I went down for a week. It was one of the funnest times of my life. But
Vancouver was
such a
amazing.
cost. Vancouver
Like,
was crazy.
But
Yeah.
it now, like I thought we would, and maybe this is where the winter is going to go. You have to go to a place that has that full infrastructure in place, that already is using stuff, and you're just renovating. It's like the 2026 World Cup. It was big for Canada, U.S., North America's. There's not a stadium being built for this tournament.
No.
I don't believe. They're using stadiums that are already existing, and they're just renovating. And the cost for that World Cup is going to come down a little bit more than other ones where it's like, hey, we need to build 3 new stadiums for this. Oh boy, that's $3 billion just right there.
Because the model in Sochi was some of those buildings got taken down and moved, right? Or did that ever happen? I mean, that was kind of the sell on that.
For the Olympics, or
It was for the Olympics, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, like I thought the hockey arena or some of those facilities in Sochi were kind of modular, so they could be taken down and used in other sites.
I think
That was the sell, but maybe it was
I
all-
think one of the soccer stadiums in Qatar is supposed to do that.
Well,
but I
that
don't know
was
what's going to
too.
happen.
Yeah, that was too.
They always say those things, but it is like you could. There's famous articles written in where, like, the Olympics in Brazil, you could go and see this, what happened to, the ball stadium is just grown over and it's just been abandoned and stuff, and you're just like, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
Look at all the money that was spent on something like that, and it just goes
sitting
away.
there, yeah.
So it's so yeah, the business is awful, but the actual games when they happen,
Yeah, they're great.
There's
I
a
mean,
beauty and there's a magic to it, and we get to watch these athletes that we don't follow all year represent our country and see what they can do. Like Summer McIntosh is going to be someone we're all going to be following next summer, and
Oh, yeah.
we don't really follow her for the other 4 years. Yes, there's things happening and her name will be thrown out there, but we're not all sitting down on a CBC Saturday to watch what Summer McIntosh is going to do. The Olympics comes, we're all sitting down to watch what Summer McIntosh is going to do.
I saw somewhere, I think the CBC reporter had it, where the most streamed sport in 2023 was swimming.
I love watching swimming.
Because it's not on TV.
Yeah. But still, like, would you have swimming for the most streamed sport in Canada? No, like you said, we have some very talented
Where the
athletes.
women are amazing in
Yeah,
the pool
women
right
are
now.
amazing, yeah. So,
There's which is
Because Oleksiak's still very young, but she's been like, it almost seems like she's a veteran now.
Well, we have that.
The third Olympics, I think.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I can't think of her name. But we have that other young lady that can just fly.
From like Red Deer or something.
Yeah, she's like 15 or something.
Yeah. That's going to bother me.
Yeah.
Because
terrible for
at the
names.
last Olympiad Tokyo, it was incredible just what our women were doing.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Which
Cool.
is that it was always the Americans dominating the pool. Katie
Well,
Ledecky was the big American one.
Australia's
always
Yes.
been strong.
But now it's like Summer McIntosh is going to challenge Katie Ledecky and stuff, and really may be the big star of it all. And it's kind of, and I love seeing our small country because we're a really small country. Not topography wise, landmass, we are massive, but beyond that, we're still a really small country, and there's only so many athletes we're ever going to be able to produce. Just statistically, that's what the numbers say. The fact that we are producing now athletes in other sports just makes me so happy. Tennis,
Huge.
We talked about basketball. The aquatics, even athletically.
Soccer.
Damian Warner is the world's most athletic
Alphonso
man right now.
Davies.
Soccer, Tajon Buchanan with a big move to Italy.
Was that
Confirmed today.
official?
Yeah, Fabiano, I think today had it.
To Inter Milan?
Yeah, so a Canadian now going to
I
Italian
hope he
soccer.
plays, though.
They're making the move because they need a player, I think.
Okay.
And he wasn't playing at Club Bruges.
Yeah. I'll be cool to see him play for Inter. Club Brugge and Inter have similar unis, so that's going to be kind of...
They do, actually.
Yeah.
As you say that, it's going to... But we're out, I think baseball we've seen really well. Actually, when you talk to Jeff Kershell, Baseball Canada or Canada Baseball, whichever, I can always forget which way everyone goes
Jeff's
different.
a huge
but
baseball guy.
Oh, and he still does a lot with baseball and stuff. And apparently Canada, they're an excellent model. And a lot of the other federations in Canada look to them and just how to develop players. They've really done a great job with that. So, today we see Canada lose the World Juniors in the quarters. And that sucks and that hurts. But we'll be back next year at the World Juniors competing. We'll compete at the World Hockey Championships.
Yeah.
The NHL is talking about a best on best. Again, Gary Bettman hinted at it yesterday that they're going to be soon to announce a best on best coming. Canada's going to compete. We might not now roll every year, every tournament. We might not win every hockey medal. We may have allowed everyone else to catch us a little bit. But in turn, we now have athletes that compete in other sports. And I will take that trade-off any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with you. Just speaking of Team Canada, I mean, we all want to see Crosby play with McDavid and in some kind of tournament, whether it's the Olympics or just have a Canada Cup again or something.
Yeah.
Olympics is hard because Italy doesn't have an arena yet or anything, and trying to plan around that with the NHL schedule and agents and all those things is tough. But have a Canada Cup. Let's see Crosby and our boys take on whoever.
Well, I've gotten into this argument debate for a number of years. We love the Olympics because of what the Olympics is, and the NHLers went back, but there was no other best on best.
There wasn't.
If they had continued the Canada Cup after the 80s and carried that on, and that happened it turned into every 4 years, we would have never cared about the Olympics for hockey. We would have focused specifically on that. You have to start something, and you have to keep it going with on a schedule where we know, however, every 4 years this is taking place, and not get rid of it and keep doing it. Right. And maybe it's now not going to be in our lifetimes, but at some point, that's going to be such a big deal, and it could turn. It's not going to hit the level of this, but the FIFA World Cup is the FIFA World Cup. People care about that. It's not the Olympic one they care about. They care about the FIFA one because that's become the big event.
Yep.
And hockey can do that. You just have to be consistent with it. If you do a best on best in-season tournament, then it better be again in 4 years, and then 4 years after that, and then 4 years after that. Or if you want to do it every 2 years, 2 years. You have to stay at it and keep going at it for them people to be like, this is the tournament we care about. That's how you create prestige.
100%. Yeah.
You got to create a history. So it will be weird if there's no Russia. I understand why there would be no Russia, but I'll be intrigued to see what happens when Gary Bettman comes out and speaks to that.
There's no Russia in the juniors.
Yep.
But the Russian players can play in the NHL and other things. So, I got a bit of an issue with that.
It's a very delicate spot to be in, right? And it's...
But why punish the kids coming up? Like if you don't punish the guys making the big money in the NHL, why are you punishing the kids coming up?
And that's where it's going to be hard for the NHL.
That's what pisses me
That's
off.
going to be hard for the NHL to, if they do a best on best, it's their tournaments.
Right.
To then say we can't have Russia in this, but allow the Russian players to play in your league.
Right.
That is going to be a very delicate balance.
That's my
because it'll seem very hypocritical at that point.
right, and it is hypocritical. Right?
So, but that argument also was made right away once Russia invaded Ukraine and Russia was kicked out and the World Juniors was going to happen and they got kicked out. There was that argument of what did these kids do, and it's none of that's ever easy.
No, and they play on junior teams in Canada and all these things, and it's that whole politics in sports. I grew up watching the Russians pulled from the Olympics for years, right? And
well, then you got the IOC who sit there and
the IOCs is
they say that Russian they could play, the athletes could compete, but not under their banner, which Russia shouldn't be competing at the Olympics. That's not even a war issue. That's just from their doping issues that they've had. They've never gotten punished for what they've done for their doping scandal of Sochi Olympics. Sure. They have never been punished for that. Their athletes were allowed to continue to compete, but just no Russian flag. That part where the IOC, just this, again, back to the terrible business of the IOC.
Right.
They screwed up right there. That from that moment, Russia should have been banned for a while because of what they did with their doping, not just the Olympics but the Paralympics.
Well, and 100%. And I'm a little older than you guys, so I remember the East German swim team that looked like they could easily play for the O-line on the Elks. And this was the women. It was ridiculous.
This is the EST angle presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, Matt Iwanyk, Hernan Salas, Don Ellis with you here. Nasty chat. You can jump into that or the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. Let's get to movers and shakers, which is brought to you by Marco Mike Realty One Group Insider. Buying or selling, give Marco Mike the old PTO contract. Let them prove to you why they're the best team for the job. MarcoMike.com for more information. I got to reference a Jack Michaels tweet that came after the Oilers win over the Ducks. After 34 games in 2021-22, the Edmonton Oilers were 18-14-2. 2022-23 season, they were 18-14-2. This season, the Oilers are 18-15-1, right where they were the last couple of years. Still, not in that top spot, but with the way they're playing, the way things are going, are the Oilers like the team to fear in the West again? Are they back to being one of those top teams to fear?
Impressive road trip. I remember, I don't know which, it was either the oil stream or two guys or even Tommy on the pregame. Ahead of this 6-game road swing, which was broken up by Christmas, I think the guys were saying you need 4 or 5 of these games to continue to make hay, right? Because they were coming off 3 straight losses, and they lose that first one, and then 3 comeback wins against 3 very good teams. And then they took care of business against 2 teams they should take care of business in San Jose and Anaheim.
Which they didn't do earlier this year.
Yeah, very, very impressive 5-game win streak for Edmonton. And it's, over New Year's with the fam, my cousins and my dad were talking like how hot the Oilers have been, 8 in a row and then 5 in a row now. But that start is still hurting them because they still can't not lock down, but they still can't get into that wild card spot, right? Now, in fairness, Arizona and Nashville keep winning, and so do Seattle, St. Louis, Calgary. So, this is going to be a battle, and I think the way the Oilers are playing is the way we all expected them to play at the start of the season. But again, they just got to keep rolling here, and they got a light schedule in January against some teams that they should beat. But I'm pretty impressed with the way they're playing. I'm especially impressed with the defense, the way they're moving the puck. What a difference. I've never seen the Oilers defense move the puck like they are now. They're all making plays. And look at the Anaheim game on New Year's Eve. The passes Darnell Nurse was making. Holy smokes. That was great to see. So I still think the team is maybe 2-3 players away from, going for that Stanley Cup. But right now, you can't be too upset with what they're doing, and hopefully they can keep rolling. I think Don and Maddie, I still think 2-3 teams are going to fall off here soon. I don't know which team that's going to be. I don't.
Wild card or Pacific Division?
No, wild card. You're not like.
Well, I'll just the numbers for the wild card right now. Nashville sits in the top wild card spot. 37 games played, 41 points. Arizona 35 games, 40 points. The Oilers 34 games played, so they have a game in hand on Arizona, 3 games in hand on Nashville, 37 points, only 3 points back of Arizona, 4 behind Nashville. In between them is Seattle, 38 games played at 39 points. So if the Oilers take care of some business of those games in hand, they're actually sitting in a wild card spot.
The games in hand are critical. It's just that bad start. And unfortunately, you had Vancouver and Vegas and even LA all got off to really good starts. And to your point, they've got some games coming up here that they should win. But we also said that at the start of the season. So if they pooch it against these weaker teams, they're right back in a bad position. Now, what I did like is that game against LA. They showed a lot. And they really did. They played tough. They didn't give up, and Stuart Skinner was maybe the best game he's had all year. I thought, and some confidence there. And I think you mentioned Darnell Nurse's passing. He's not getting enough credit right now. He's mean, and he's making better plays. He's smarter. So we talked a little bit about before the show when we were watching poor Team Canada. But that team's playing with more confidence. Is it the coaching change? Is it Paul Coffey coming in and giving these guys a little more confidence? Because, Coffey was another guy that a lot of people are saying, oh, geez, they're bringing in the old guard again. But he's done something with that that Manson wasn't getting done.
I think, and there was that article a few weeks ago where I think when Coffey came in, he talked to his defenseman and he goes, if you can't make a play, we'll find someone that can. And I think that was the biggest thing with the Oilers defense was like it was off the glass and out or icings and now you're seeing like from 1 to 6, Desharnais down to whoever you want to call your number 1, Ekholm or Nurse or Bouchard. Like now, like your heads up, boom, where can I make a pass? And they're making subtle little good plays to get the puck out of the zone. I think that's great to see. And now, to Don's point, like I think it's a little bit of everything. I think the coaching change helped. I think Stuart Skinner settling down between the pipes. I think the team just realizing how good they can be and knowing that you're not going to win just on skill, that you have to actually work hard. And I think they've obviously righted the ship, but a long ways to go for this team just because of their bad start. But you're seeing a lot of like what McLeod and Fogle are doing. Like I didn't expect that, to be honest with you.
What's he got? 5 points in the last Fogle?
Derek, 5 points, yeah.
The way Derek Ryan plays, the smallest guy on the team, and he's probably annoying for the opposition because he's just totally in there and like. I
was stunned when he was out there. I was like, him for the 4th penalty shootout.
So was I.
I was like, what? Why Derek Ryan? Then he's going, oh, that's why. Okay.
And I was like, yes, yeah. And then you see how happy the bench is. So it's been crazy, but like LA is a hell of a team. So is Vegas and Vancouver. I thought they were going to be good. I didn't think they'd be first in the Western Conference good, but good on them. I mean, you know what I compare Vancouver to? The 16-17 Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, okay.
Their goaltender's playing out of this world. Quinn Hughes is playing out of this world. They're getting career years from almost all their guys. They're staying relatively healthy. The Oilers, remember in 16-17, Talbot out of this world. Letestu was like Letestu, Maroon. They had career years from so many
Matt Benning had an unbelievable season that year.
Yeah. So I think that's what Vancouver is going. And everybody's like Vancouver's going to fall off. I
don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Arizona for sure. I think they're going to drop a bit.
I've been waiting all season for
that. I still think it's going to happen, though.
I think Nashville's going to fall off.
Now, the only thing that could happen with Vancouver, well, Oilers too, but an injury, right?
Yeah.
So Hughes goes down, or
the goalie's the big one.
The goaltending in Vancouver
that's anyone.
is outstanding, right?
So yeah, I think the Oilers, and I think everybody in the West is waiting for 2-3 teams to drop out, and it's hard to say who now because Calgary will win 2, then lose 2. Oilers will go on a nice streak and then drop 2 or 3. So it's in Seattle. I think Seattle lost 8 straight at one point.
They were dropped. They had a good game against Vegas yesterday. But,
So it's been a weird year.
Yeah, the Oilers start I still don't think that I think they'll be lucky to claw into a Pacific spot, one of those top 3.
Yeah.
I think those top 3 teams are just really good, and the hole they dug themselves was just too great to come back from that. What is the point differential for that? Kings with 33 games, so they have a game in hand, have 45 points, so they have an 8-point advantage, which is it's a lot. And the Kings are going to go win their hockey games.
They're a good team.
You got 49 points combined each for Vancouver, Vegas, so you're 12 points back if you're the Edmonton Oilers. That's 6 games you got to make up. That's hard to do. It's like the Oilers are great, but I think hey, they had that bad start, but they didn't have that bad December this year. They balanced that out, and they've recovered enough that I think we could sit here and be like, they're a playoff team. They're like, that became a little bit of a question mark at one point.
I'm kind of just
they're there.
Just get in, and then if they're on a roll at the end of the season, just get in and then look out.
I almost wanted to go.
I think that might be the most dangerous. That they had their bad part at the start of the year, but if they get in and just get a wild card spot, that's really from December through to April, I guess, playing their best hockey.
Right.
And it's probably better for them to play, if they're in the wild card spot, to play the team in the Central, is it? Yep.
If they get the, Well,
because I think they'll struggle against the 3 teams in the Pacific.
Colorado, though.
But
Playing them in the first one.
They can beat Colorado.
But Colorado's goaltending.
I will say this. I wouldn't hate the Oilers going up against the Canucks in a best of 7. Because the Canucks, as good as they are playing the regular season, I'll take this mentality. They don't have the playoff experience yet.
No, but I think Demko can steal you a series.
Sure. I think McDavid and Draisaitl could turn it up in a 7-game series.
Yeah.
Take the Canucks. I'd almost want the Canucks more than the Avs. Because the Avs know how to win.
You were talking about it's hard to make up ground. I think Jeff Patterson covers the Canucks.
Yep.
So the Oilers are 13-3 in their last 16, and they've only gained 4 points on the Canucks. Like, that's how hard it is to get back into this, right? Like, it's...
Unless you take on that team, which becomes the 4-point game that we talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, if you need them to lose when you win to make that advantage.
And
that's why 6 points or 6 games, 12 points. 6 games is a lot. It's
a lot
to have to overcome.
And Vancouver, what Vancouver's done really well is that they lose, and they rarely lose 2 straight.
Yeah.
Like, they lose one, then they're back on the winning side. They lose.
They're consistent. And
and their coach pushes them. Like, you can tell Rick Talk, it's like one of those guys that, and that might get old fast, too.
Is that going to be the John Tortorella where you get a 2-3 year span with that team and then they tune you out and you're gone? Guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, but I didn't expect Vancouver to be leading the West. I'll tell you that much. I thought they would be good, but not this good.
Norman at Combine in the nasty chat. CC's playing better, which allows Nurse to look after his position. Ekholm's back playing to his potential. Bouchard is still a major D-zone soft spot. Yes, he gets his points, but when it comes to Ekholm, it just seems like he's now gotten healthy and is caught up to the NHL game. Missing all that training camp, not healthy. It just took him a while to get to where we remember him with this team that he was last year, ever since he came.
He was hurt
with the trade deadline. Yes,
you could tell.
And then Smitty the Welder back in. I don't think the Kings are as good as you guys are giving them credit for. Here's the thing about that, though. We've been saying that's something I've heard for the last 3 years with the Kings.
Yeah, no, they've been building.
They've been, and in the first year that the Oilers, so that would have been 2 seasons ago when the Oilers took them on the playoffs. I remember that year where everyone's like, the Kings, they're going to fall off eventually. They're going to fall off. They're going to fall. And until the Oilers knocked them on the playoffs, they don't.
They didn't have Doughty in that playoff run.
And yes, and that's just the thing we have with the Kings, where you look at them and you go like, it's not going to last. But they've proven for the last 2.5 seasons, yes, it does. Cam Talbot looks like this unbelievable goalie again. Is that going to be sustainable throughout the playoffs? I don't know.
That might be their downfall.
But I think it could get them to the playoffs in this position.
They're a playoff team. Yeah. No, and
I'm not betting against the Kings because
I don't want the Oilers facing the Kings in the playoffs.
You don't?
No. That game could have been 5-6-0.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Skinner.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
It really could have been.
Terrible first period.
Terrible first period.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't give these guys, especially the guys you're chasing, an inch like that.
I think a trade that hurt LA too was the getting rid of Dursey, because Dursey was a thorn in the Oilers' side.
Yep.
And he's a guy that can move the puck, but he was a pain in the ass to play against. He was very similar to Mikey Anderson, but I think a little bit better with the puck on his stick. So I think they're going to miss him quite a bit come playoff time, because he's greasy, right? So, but I think Dubois helps them. You got to think they're going to get Arvidsson back at one point this season. So, again, I don't think they're like the best team in the league, but I think they're a solid team. And Drew Doughty's, for me, he's one of my favorite defensemen. That guy's legit. And he's a guy you love to hate on the other team.
Do you not want to see the Oilers take on the Kings because you think the Kings
I think the
could
Kings
beat them are better, or they're due to beat the Oilers? Because I'm the type of person who goes, the Oilers knocked them out 2 years in a row.
I think they're due.
You think they're due to then knock them out?
Yeah. That's why I just avoid them. Play Colorado.
See what happens there.
Yeah.
We would have beat Colorado. If Draisaitl hadn't been playing on one leg that year, we would have beat Colorado.
I think
There's a really good chance they would go on to win that cup.
Again,
but then it's the same. They have just a little bit of better goaltending last year.
A little bit.
There's a good chance. And not, like, again, not a lot much. Not needing, like, a Martin Brodeur style goaltending. A bit more, and then there's a chance to win the cup.
The biggest difference right now is those 6D are playing much better.
Yeah.
And at the start of the year, couldn't say that. Ekholm was hurt. They were making so many mistakes, and the goalies weren't playing great either. Look at Vegas, fifth string goalie wins the cup, but their D were studs, right? So if you're, it shows you can be just good enough goalie. You don't have to be Vasilevsky or Vasilevsky, sorry, and win.
It's changed in hockey in the last while, like the last 10 years or 8 years or so, where it's the Vasilevskys are now kind of the outliers of winning a Stanley Cup.
Oh, how many real studs are there? I mean,
and if they are, they don't last long. Like, we're not talking about Jordan Binnington right now is one of the top, 3 goalies in hockey right now. And there's a Stanley Cup winner from a few years ago. Matt Murray is a guy that, his career goes down and stuff. It just seems that
even Adrian Hill.
You need to catch almost lightning in a bottle of get that goalie at that right time who's in that 2-3 year window of just being really good. And your team's at that Stanley Cup window for you to go win that cup. Because, Lundqvist never won a Stanley Cup. No. Carey Price never won a Stanley Cup.
I firmly believe the Oilers beat Vegas if Brossoit doesn't get hurt.
Yes.
Because they had his number.
Oh,
seriously.
That was the series.
That was the series.
You could feel it at the moment, too, because the Oilers were
all over Brossoit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had him. They got in his head. They had him figured out. And you're right.
And then
back to those shoulda, woulda, couldas.
Yeah, of course. yeah. That was,
It's just really weird that you never want to see someone get hurt, but for the King or Golden Knights perspective, an injury actually won them the cup. An injury to themselves, not to the other team, to themselves.
Go back to 2006.
Yeah.
Oilers are right there, and they lose their goalie. He'd been playing lights out and couldn't quite get it done.
That's unfortunate.
I was living in Calgary at the time. Still have tears from that one.
That was a rough one.
Yeah, it was a rough one.
Yeah. That's those are
even though Juicy played well.
Juicy played
honestly came in, and that seemed like that series was going to be over right away.
Yeah.
And the fact it went 7, that just shows how well Markkanen did play. And even Game 7, it wasn't like they lost 7-0.
Well, they lost 3-1, but it was 2-1 with the empty netter, right? Was it 3-1?
2-0, I think.
No, they scored. Oilers scored a goal.
Did the Oilers score a goal?
I think Pisani scored.
Yeah. No, I think he didn't score. I think it was he hit the
someone
pad.
in the nasty chat. What was the final score in Game 7?
I had to go to therapy.
Sorry to bring you back
about
to
10 years for that
2006.
So,
Pork Andre Bergeron.
We're closing in on 20 years for that one.
Yeah, I was
18
still
years ago. That's incredible.
I was just a kid.
Yeah.
3-1. You were right.
Yeah.
3-1. 3-1. Open netter.
Yeah. Oilers the game before 4-0.
Yeah.
Is that game 5-0? Big blow loss.
I remember that. I was at a golf tournament and had one of my best customers with me. And I said, and of course, this thing was gone from a 4 to a 6 hour slow. And I'm just like, geez, I got to go. So I bought her and her staff some beers, and then I booted it home to watch the game.
That was a wild time.
It was good.
Were you all over White Ave?
No, I wasn't. Thinking of this the other day. No, we'd always watch it at a buddy's house, have a barbecue or something because it was nice out. And
you know what? Like watching hockey in the backyard, like when it's nice out. Actually,
we were golfing.
I went to White Ave once, and it lasted 10 minutes because I found White Ave was a lot of people that weren't fans, but just took the opportunity to be.
You have the young people that have a chance to
be stupid,
have great.
And I was young back then, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I want to watch the game and celebrate with Oiler fans, not guys that are just looking for trouble and all that. So I went, like I said, I went once. It lasted 10 minutes, and I said, let's get the hell out of here. So
I was on the golf course in my Oiler jersey. I was hot. They understood. Everybody understood I had to get out of there because I couldn't miss that game.
Isn't it better though, like with a group of friends and you have a nice barbecue and you're just chilling in the backyard?
I like that better than a bar because my issue of watching big sporting games in a bar is I just the TV's never like where I want it.
Yeah,
right? Like you're not saying like and. I don't know. You grab it.
There's just too much distraction. Too,
there is, and I don't know. Like, yes, I like the.
You
house
gotta wait 30 minutes for a beer, and where you can just go to your cooler.
Yeah, there's some rockets in there that are distractions.
There's all sorts of, and when it's your team, like when you're folks, like if we're gonna do a Super Bowl party at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, and if it's any teams and they're outside of the Ravens, I'm going to be like, yeah, this is great. If the Ravens are it's going to be hard.
Exactly.
It's going to be hard.
If it's the Niners, I'll watch at home.
Right, because
if it's any other team, I'll go out and
home base.
Because I don't really
just,
care. Yeah.
I want to focus a bit on the game, little intense, and that's going to be. Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, that was Movers and Shakers brought to you by Marco and Mike, Realty One Group Insider, MarcoandMike.com for more information.
I owe you a bottle of wine.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I didn't know if you'd remember that or not.
Yeah,
we made a quick. Well, I forced the bet almost on you. 49ers win. He owes me I would have owed him a bottle of Italian and then you owe me a bottle of Chilean if the Ravens win.
Nice.
The Ravens, I'm never high on my team, but the Ravens ever. I'm always skeptical of them. They're a damn good football team right now.
They smoked the Niners and the Dolphins.
And then the Dolphins.
Jeez, yeah.
Like, they are absolutely rolling right now. Yeah. And the Harbaugh family is just loving life right now with Michigan and the Ravens.
He was so happy yesterday.
That defense is good. The Ravens.
And they didn't even have all their players against Miami. Now, Miami didn't have some of their offensive players. Raheem Mostert wasn't playing, and Waddle wasn't playing. But they didn't have Kyle Hamilton. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, Marlon Humphreys got hurt in that one. But, like, the 49ers game, I didn't see that coming.
Either did
I didn't see how, they went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And absolutely rolled
them, yeah.
The top team in the NFC.
That was a tough one to watch, yeah. And I watched the whole game. I don't know how, but it was... No, you got to give credit, man. Like and then to go into, like you said, to go into Miami, not go into Miami, but play Miami and whoop them too. Like Lamar Jackson is just out of this world right now. Good on them.
There's some question marks of Lamar still in the playoffs, and that's now going to have to be answered this year.
And I'm kind of glad though, because I hate when my teams go in on fire because something always happens. So I'm glad they've dropped a few, and now they don't really have to because they clinched already. So. I know already next week McCaffrey's not playing because he suffered a bit of a calf injury. Why play him? So, let's just get ready for the playoffs.
And you guys got the bye week, too.
That'll be nice, too.
Actually, this last week of the NFL season.
Yeah. Lots of ice and meds for those guys.
It's wild watching Buffalo take on Miami. Buffalo could go win the division. If they don't win and they lose, there's a chance that they'll just miss the playoffs entirely.
Jeez.
And I'm not gonna lie,
but that would be such a Buffalo thing to do.
It would be a Buffalo. And sorry to Tyler Amchuk, sorry to Lieutenant Eric, and all Buffalo Bill fans out there. As a Ravens fan, I don't want to see the Bills in the playoffs because it's the same to me like the mentality with the Oilers or with where they are.
Yeah.
If you're a team in the West, you want the Oilers to miss the playoffs, so you don't have to see them in the playoffs. You don't have to worry about them in the playoffs because that's going to be a hard team to play in the playoffs. If they get going, that's a hard out. And I think the exact same thing with the Buffalo Bills. If you have to play the Bills in the playoffs, that ain't easy. Give me the Texans, give me the Colts, give me the Steelers, give me all those other teams. I don't want a chance of having to see the Bills. So if the Bills could be knocked out of the playoffs and they just don't make it, that's as a Ravens fan, the weaker the competition in the AFC playoffs, the better. And to me, it's a weaker competition if the Bills miss.
But you know the history of the Buffalo Bills. You know they're going to find a way to lose the game. So why are you so worried? Like you know they're going to find a way to blow it.
Because in the playoffs they won't.
There'll be so many tables broken at that party. It'd be unbelievable.
It's
of course the Seahawks poached it to the Steelers the other night.
Yeah.
How cool is it to see the Browns and Joe Flacco go to the playoffs?
Wow. I don't know.
Personally, I love Joe Flacco.
It's great.
He won a Super Bowl for the Ravens. I love the guy. He never got his due to me. Everyone just always made fun of Joe Flacco. I always liked him as a quarterback. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, that's cool.
I am very happy for him. I'm happy that the Browns are doing well.
Yeah.
How sustainable in the playoffs? I don't. They look like a good football team.
They could be
actually.
okay.
Good defense. Yeah.
What's wild is in the AFC is if the Bills lose but make the playoffs still, I think there's a really good chance the first round matchup is KC versus the Bills.
Ooh.
Which would be something else.
Yeah, KC's an interesting team this year.
Yeah. They just, for the last few months, I keep saying they're my favorite to win the AFC. They're like in the playoffs to come out and go to the Super Bowl.
But they're not looking good.
But they keep looking like they haven't shown up still. I thought by now we would have had them show up a little bit more than what we've seen. And losing to the Raiders on Christmas Day, like at home, I don't know.
They just got by the Bengals this weekend. And
I'm starting to realize that maybe they aren't the team in the AFC that's going to come out. This is an open competition for maybe it's the Dolphins, maybe it's the Ravens, maybe it's the Bills.
It's not
maybe
the Dolphins. I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah,
I love their head coach though. He's a character.
He's a beauty.
Man.
He cares about his shoes. And did you guys hear the story about how he met his wife?
No.
He's a young guy, so he was in coaching.
38, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like super young. Coached I want to say a college team or something. And one of his players was dancing with some girl, and he told the player he would go like curfew type thing, and they went, and that ended up being his wife. Al Michaels told that story or something. It was just like an absolutely surreal story. I was like, oh geez, like so yeah, he kind of, took this guy and hey, you got to go home.
Talking about guys that just kind of like started from the bottom and great.
That's
great
awesome.
guy calling plays because he was with the Niners, right? And then just
Is he with the Niners?
Yeah,
he was their OC before he headed out.
That's right.
there.
Okay.
yeah.
That's a good story. It's love seeing a young guy getting a chance like that in the NFL too, because they're usually in their 70s by the time they're.
And having success
coaches.
too, right?
And that's the Sean McVay effect.
Yeah.
They, the Rams went young, and then everyone tried hiring anyone connected to Sean McVay. But now it's just overall, I think teams are okay going to that young coach. And
Because Green Bay's coach is young.
yeah,
Yeah.
the first young coach was Lane Kiffin with the Raiders back when. And then when he got fired and Al Davis brought out the projector and the old school projector to explain while he's firing Lane Kiffin and stuff. But no, it's...
How do you remember this stuff? Like, that's good. Oh.
Well, that one was just so wild.
Okay.
Also, I love the whole storyline of Lane Kiffin, of his career
You're very
arc.
good. You bring up stuff, and I'm like, what?
No,
Where does this come from?
but ask me to remember something important, Don, and
Okay.
I will have forgotten. But these useless facts... Good thing I do a show called The Hangout where I can throw out useless facts that have no impact.
It's pretty good. You amaze me with these trivia night with him would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's also like it's one of those. It was that old school projector at school that kids would not have any idea what we're talking about right now.
Those were classics.
Overhead projectors, where then we had one teacher who would mark on it and always have to wipe it off and stuff, or they'd put the sheets on it and project
I was on the AV team and. Back in the day at Old Dover Court, I remember wheeling those old things in.
Yeah.
And it's just no, we're not talking about those new projectors now that project HDMIs, plug those in and they shoot out. No, like these were the old school ones that I don't know if a school would even have them anywhere.
Had to turn the old lamp on underneath.
Yes. That's the thing. And then Al Davis brought that out when he was firing Lane Kiffin, and it was just really weird.
That's fantastic.
But
I'm gonna have to look that up because that's.
The Al Davis.
Now, how's your pain level with your broken wing here?
So I actually
do you need a Caesar?
I've actually I torn labrum surgery December 22nd. For anyone asking, I'll be in the sling for a couple more weeks. Honestly, like no pain basically. They gave me painkillers. I took a couple here or there. Sleeping's when I get in pain.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it went from when I get up in the night before I go to bed. I feel good. So I think it's when I start doing rehab, real physio, like actually start having to move it a lot more. That's when I'm going to experience a lot of pain.
Don't cheat your rehab.
Yeah.
Because you'll feel invincible and you'll hurt it again. And don't do that.
Yeah, that's the thing I definitely don't want to do. And it's don't have to take a pause We just had mail dropped off for us, but not somebody looking for
mail
something. So
I was waiting for someone to walk in.
it's this is a different time of year right now at EST when it comes to the staff that we have here. But yeah, no, things going well, and I'm surviving.
Well, that's good. I walked in and I saw you this morning, and usually it's Tom Gazzola in the corner with a hairdryer, but
no, he was doing the real work this morning.
He was working hard. He's up early.
Yeah, good old Tommy.
Have you ever had surgery?
No.
No?
No.
Don't do it. That's the first advice, because you said you had the
Yeah, I've had two shoulders, just had hernia surgery before the holiday break. That was fun.
oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
How's your pain level then?
That's
Knock on
good.
wood.
It's good. That was about a 6-week recovery.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And much better. I had it before, and now they do it arthroscopic, which is better. But they had to fix an old injury. So I think I heard it lugging around heavy chain link fence back in the day. And
I could do it.
Feeling I was, Arnold Schwarzenegger out there in the woods. But
Lift with the back. That's what they always tell us, right? Always lift with the back, you know?
But yeah, the shoulder, you got to watch that because it'll feel real good. And you'll be like, I can do this. And just keep it going.
It's all for golf for me. It was honestly, the injury I had was I only experienced the pain while golfing. So it's like,
See, we're going to arm wrestling Dusty or anything?
no, and I don't want to. Everyone would want to arm wrestle me because it's an easy win for them. But no, golf was the only time I'd ever actually experienced the pain, even, and so finally it needed to be fixed. It got it fixed. And
So
it's
you've
just
had no injuries? No,
I've had
injuries,
but no surgeries.
No surgery.
Good for you.
But no surgeries.
I can't even count.
because he's still playing soccer.
Yeah, I am. Fridays. Back at it this Friday. So it's
boy.
Masters, right? So it's a lot slower and stuff. So no. I mean, I've had high ankle sprains and knee injuries, and my lower back's pretty bad at times, but never anything close to surgery. So I've been lucky.
Now, is Master Soccer, so do you still have the young guys coming in that think they're going to the show like beer league hockey?
No. It's funny, though, because some guys just are still you still try hard. You're competitive. You want to win, but there's guys that, still want to fight. And you're like, what are we doing? We're 40 years old here. Like, why do you want to fight? It's just soccer. And we're paying to play. It's not like we're getting paid, right? So I like to go play with the buddies, and then you have a beer after. Like, that's what it's all about, right?
That's why we play.
Yeah, exactly.
The soccer centers have it right.
Yeah.
Like with that little restaurant
bar
at the top.
yeah.
And if you go watch someone, you could start. But after, if you're playing, you grab a couple pictures and hang out with the team afterwards.
Yeah, it's
soccer
great.
centers are just...
That's what's the best part. Like, the game is... It's just to
Yeah, but the fact you're still playing, good for
Yeah.
you. I haven't played soccer since I was about 16.
Yeah, no, it's... I hadn't played since before COVID hit, so it took me a while to get back into it. So, but
COVID knocked a bunch of people out, and it's not good.
Nope. It's crazy, though, just to go back to everything we, went through before that.
It's 4 years almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
When everything shut down, honestly, these 4 years have just gone by in a snap of a finger. Like, it's absolutely wild to think that was 4 years ago. That's the part that is just all like.
I still remember.
People always say that as you get older, time just goes quicker. It just feels like, I don't know if that's just, it's just we're getting older now and that's what we're feeling. But this time span of everything that happened to now, just being only 4 years, having been 4 years, is absolutely insane to me.
The bubble playoffs, and then the shortened season, and then just everything, like the canceled CFL season, which was awful. Like, man, what a time.
4 years.
I remember working with you and Tommy on the Oilers played Winnipeg, and they lost, and that was the night the NBA shut down because of Rudy Gobert, and we went out. We went out for beers after, and we were like, "Yeah, we'll probably be shut down for 2 weeks." You knew the world was going to shut down for
months,
years. Yeah, it was bizarre, absolutely crazy time.
I think we talked about this last time I was on, but I really feel for the kids because so many sports and kids at certain ages, it's really tough keeping girls in sports when U13. A lot of them drop out, and now you throw COVID in. But just getting kids, and I noticed it in the brick tournament this year. The teams weren't as good.
Yeah.
because they didn't have that. There's a couple of years there where they weren't playing games, right? And I've been to the Brick tournament for 20 years. I volunteered at it this year, so I got up close. But the teams weren't as good, and I think a lot of it was due to lack of playing through COVID, and that's sad.
Well, because you couldn't practice, you couldn't train, you couldn't do anything.
The only people that would have been okay was people that are in the individual sports.
Yeah.
In a way, because your training is, you don't need someone else necessarily. But competition, not having competition, it's going to hurt. You know, you get better when you go up against someone. But like for that, but team sports where you need someone else, it's very difficult. And it still happens. Like college football wise, there's is it Utah? I think one of Utah's quarterback got hurt this year. He's going back for a 7th season next year. But he's like, it's because he lost a couple of years and they weren't, that we're still seeing the impact of what happened from COVID in our sports. And I would think in youth sport, it'd be the same thing, that there's certain players that had some extensions and stuff because of lost seasons and all that. And this is a trickle to your point, even Don, because the Brick tournament, this is going to still impact sports for another decade or so when it comes to development of these players.
I follow junior hockey, and I love junior hockey. I love like WHA down. I love junior hockey, and you look at kids that you can only have so many 20-year-olds on a team. And you got kids that got shut down for 2 years, and now they've lost their opportunity, right? Yeah, and they really have. And we had some really good friends up for New Year's, and their kid is he never played midget AAA or anything like that. Late bloomer, and he's just lighting it up in the Saskatchewan junior hockey. He plays for Kindersley, Kindersley, Saskatchewan, and the kid's great. He's 6'3" now, but he lost his chance, developing. Yeah, and he's finally getting a look now. But like I watched some of these games with these kids, and you can see it, right? That whole being shut down hurt kids, right?
And then whole development. So, but still 4 years for that. And we had all like Techmo leagues, and I'm the champ, so never forget that.
I saw Techmo being brought up on an NFL broadcast a few weeks ago. I was going to text you boys. I just totally forgot. But they were bringing up the Techmo game.
I am the Techmo champ, the reigning Techmo champ. It's
not good. I made a few finals, but I never won.
Dusty sure bragged about it.
Yeah. Dusty was really good.
So Dusty started off strong, and Dusty won the title the first 2 years, really, that we started, or first 2 seasons, not years, seasons. Then I finished with the last 2 wins, including the greatest season in Techmo history.
Okay, because he kind of described himself as the LeBron of Techno.
He's good.
He was really good to start, but while I can't speak for him and Yukon Jack, I caught him and passed him.
Fantastic.
But Dusty was good with good teams.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I was good with some weaker.
If he was the Dallas Cowboys, he'd whoop you. But if he was the Colts,
but no one was good with the Colts. I played well with like the Saints, and the Broncos, and there was a couple mid teams that I knew how to play with. Good, and that's where I was.
See,
able
maybe
to
there's
catch
the resentment there about him being the commish.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's some hard
That's
feelings.
a good point because, like, Dusty was like in that
Dusty
game.
would get angry if he lost.
Well, we all did.
Yeah,
Dusty
you're competitive guys. And,
it was bad though, Don. Like it was. Him and I would finish a game after our show.
Yeah,
and whoever lost would go home mad. Like the day was a bad day at work because they lost that last Techmo.
If I lost to Uke, like I'd be steaming.
Well, you can't lose to Uke because he was terrible.
That's why.
I know.
And he beat me a few times, and I'd be like, how's this happening?
The key for Dusty was early on, too, is he did a flea flicker play.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he killed us with it always. He always kept doing it, and it just, for some reason, we couldn't stop it. And then eventually we started stopping it. And then his greatness faded.
Yeah.
Okay. And I stepped up. Hernan, you stepped up for a bit, but then you took a step back.
Oh, a huge
step back. The only good thing Uke had was one playoffs. He went on a run. We had a full season. Like we played each other 16 times.
Oh my God. Okay.
And then we went to the playoffs.
Did you guys record it?
We did a couple of games on Twitch. We streamed them live.
Because that would have been fantastic.
Oh, we didn't tell a lot of people. It was Eric came in because then Hernan left us to go join the Elks. So we had to do a couple of our playoffs just on like a weekend. And Eric would come in just to watch us, and we had a really good time with it.
That's pretty good.
It was Yeah, it was next level because like the rosters were real, so we printed out the rosters and so you can see like the ratings of the players and who you want to play on defense. But like, you had Randall Cunningham on the Eagles, who was awesome because he was a dual threat. Steve Young.
I never played with the Eagles.
I was good with the Packers for some reason, but Brett Favre was like a rookie in those times or a second year player. But
they had a couple of receivers. So like it was weird. We found this like manual online that somebody gave stats for these players, and we called it our Bible.
Yeah.
And like before each game, each player would grab it and study their roster just to know. Green Bay had a couple of receivers that would catch like anything their way.
Yeah.
And then you had Reggie White on defense.
Oh, Reggie White was a beast.
Because he was with the Packers at the time in the game. And like he was a beast on defense. We mastered that game. That's it. For us in COVID, that was our joy. Was we went in, we created a little divider,
which was good too, because then it hid like because you had
Yes.
to select the play with the obviously the pad
That's
there,
fantastic.
and then that way you couldn't see what play you were picking. So
I
it's
watched
perfect.
Dusty's little NHL
United Cup.
United Cup. I watched that through COVID. It was fantastic. And I got to say, you guys, there's so much passion. When you come in this studio here, they were doing a draft last time, and it was so loud, you had to tell them to be quiet because we couldn't hear anything. But people watching this show, these guys are all good guys and sports nerds beyond anything I've seen, and they get into it. And the techno and the...
we need a Techmo machine here.
Dusty bought a game for Super Nintendo, like the Super Nintendo controller. So like the actual console,
get
but
it
we
up.
need to get the big one. But like we had this big arcade machine.
So
and-
this machine had 4,000 games. We played
Where
one.
did it go?
well, it was at the old place.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
can we get
given
back
to
in there?
us. It was given to us. Well, we don't want that one back. Yukon and I took it to Eric Stagg, and we drove it on the the Henday and stuff, and like parts of it ripped off. And
You guys are animals.
we destroyed it. We only, in the end, like Eric Stagg, I think only like 4 games was played. It was like the biggest waste
Yeah.
of time in the end that we
I
brought
played a
that.
game, yeah.
But it was like, and then when we got let go, it was taken back by the company, and Yukon was left without it. But yeah, it had like 10,000 games.
Okay, does somebody out there have one of these?
Oh, we know
yeah.
one
That's some
person
good shit.
that potentially we could buy. But yeah, like had 10,000 games that you could play, and for some reason we only played one.
Oh, man.
We just
Wow.
played this one game. We didn't play other games for the
I
most
played
part.
Galaga, and me and Hallie would
Galaga's
play
fantastic.
NBA Jam as teammates. That was fun too. So I indulged in other games when you guys weren't around. So
Okay.
I'd be on Galaga for a while.
Galaga's awesome.
That's let's get a little fist pump. for
Yeah,
that.
I
That's-
love Galaga.
That's pretty
so.
good.
During Elks games, when I was doing Green and Gold, me and Jeff Walker, there was actually a Tetris game we got into.
Oh, okay.
And it was like a speed thing, and it like already like had certain things. And
There's so
we
many
went,
games.
we slowly just all season trying to get to the top level and beat it all. And finally we did it, and we were
Beautiful.
so excited. And that we do that just during the Elks game. Like somebody would go up, play like 3 games, get frustrated, sit down. Another
Techmo
person would go up.
baseball was good.
That was weird.
Yeah, I loved playing that one. That was fun.
That's what we did at work at 1260. No wonder we all had going home. Just kidding.
Yeah, but going into 2024, that changed last year. Like you guys have really built something good here over the last 4 months, and
Thank you.
you really have. It's great.
Yeah, and it's big plans for 2024, honestly. And
If you bring
Dusty's
Techmo,
back on Monday, and things kind of become more.
is Dusty back in North America?
He's back as of yesterday. He flew back, so he's
Oh,
back
okay,
here.
cool.
But now it's time for the family, just because
Yeah.
he was working that entire time, and him and his new buddy Bruce Boudreau.
What a way for Canada to lose
Dirty Bruce.
in that game
Honestly,
too.
we
eh?
haven't even gone into that. Like that
Yeah.
Spengler Cup loss for Canada in the
Oh,
semis.
man.
We're blowing that lead
They
with the
were-
final 4
yeah,
minutes
yeah.
and falling out there. That tournament still get like as much as we're talking about the juniors maybe is taking us out a little bit. Just seeing it,
Yeah.
I don't know, it brings a smile to my face to see what's going on in Davos.
Yeah, they throw that team together every year. Who can play? It
It's
was
so
nice to
quick,
see
too, right?
Big Joe
So-
Thornton up in the crowd because he helped get that team together. And I thought Dusty did a great job calling
Yeah.
the games. And I was cheering for Canada, and I went up to get a beverage, and I came back, and it was, what happened?
It's so like there's one game I just had it on and it was so weird to hear Dusty do hockey. I'm so used to him doing football
Yeah, I know.
now, right? Like the football calls, and I know what the Elks are doing, like our top plays, and a lot of them are Dusty, and I just what is happening?
What is going on?
Like, it's just, I'm so used to him doing football that I find it weird now when I hear him call hockey because it's different, right?
Why isn't outside the Spengler? He really hasn't called hockey. Like he was doing the Golden Bears for a number of years, and that's where it was.
It's crazy how great he is at football, though. Like I love his calls. Like
he's really
obviously I'm biased too because I know him and he's my buddy, but I think this year he kind of took it to the next level. He was awesome.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's good to see growth, right?
And at Spengler, he discovered there's an elevator. I don't know if anyone saw
in the
on Twitter.
last game.
He could barely fit in it.
He had to do these long stairs because he had to do all the interviews and stuff and go up and down. And they finally gave him access to an elevator or something. But he'll say that they finally gave him access to it. But I guarantee you,
he didn't know it was there.
He didn't know it was there, and if he did, he didn't ask if he could use it.
It was
like he just thought he wasn't allowed to, and didn't want to be like, "Hey, do you think I could use this elevator to go up and down quicker?"
It was probably behind the snack tray, and he couldn't get past the snack tray.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
I do miss. I get a little sad when the holiday season ends because of just the sports buffet we have. That's on at all time. Like college football, Spengler, World Juniors.
NFL on Saturdays.
Here's the thing. Like, the NFL is always only played on Christmas if it falls around a weekend.
Yeah.
If it falls on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they play Christmas Day. If it's fallen any of the other days of the week, they don't. Next year, it's on Wednesday. They had such numbers this year.
That's all that matters to them.
And I think we're going to start seeing a point where they're going to start playing on
at least.
They'll do something. He's like, that was NBA. Christmas Day was the NBA's.
Yeah.
And that's going to eventually become the NFL's again, or they're going to take it. And I'll make this prediction about the NFL. And speaking of COVID, because we saw it happen on a few days, I think we'll get to a point one day where the NFL is a 7-day-a-week sport.
Wow.
Where they will try to find a way to play in all 7 days because the numbers that they will get of having a Tuesday primetime game on, I don't know, they'll do that one on YouTube, and Wednesday will be on Netflix, and Thursday's on Amazon Prime, and Friday will be on this one, and then the TV dollars that they'll get out of it, and the monster numbers that they'll get out of it, that we will slowly start seeing the NFL chip away to start trying to become a 7-day-a-week sport.
It could be.
Yeah.
Like, I won't be quick, but like, because they will struggle going up on Saturdays because them in college football have that kind of unspoken rule of college. You get Saturday, they get Sunday.
I thought the NHL did a good job yesterday, kind of sneaking in that
the Winter Classic,
Vegas Winter Classic. Yeah, I thought Seattle. I don't know if you guys watched that, but
saw part of it.
The presentation at the start was fantastic. Throwing the fish and the guys coming out as Elvis. I thought that was fantastic.
And they had Hart playing. Can't go wrong when you have Hart playing. Although my family, like, we were all sitting there, and I was kind of to the side, and like, who is this? And we couldn't really see, and our volume wasn't loud enough. And I looked like, it's Hart. How did we not figure this out right away? How did we not notice that's Ann Wilson right there?
That's a big Seattle band.
Yeah,
everybody
with Canadian ties. Yeah. That's what my dad said yesterday. He says, I thought they were Canadian, and we had to go through.
I didn't watch 1 second of that game, but I did. Again, on Twitter, you can see how they walked in, which is pretty funny. I thought it was great. But I'm so done with outdoor games.
I'm just happy.
There's too many.
Yeah, they've oversaturated the market with it. Yeah. I'm just happy that apparently yesterday, and I didn't see it enough, the roof was kind of open.
Oh.
You can't have an outdoor game inside. No. They did it at BC Place with Vancouver with the Heritage Classic a number of years ago. If that place has the roof closed, it's not an outdoor game anymore. No. That's just a stadium game.
Yeah.
But not an outdoor game. Like, and to me, it's if we're gonna play outdoor games and if we're gonna have a Winter Classic, there has to be a outdoor element in some capacity for it to be legit.
I mean, of course, the Oilers. I mean, it's tough to be original, so everybody copies the Oilers.
Yeah.
I mean. That first one was great. It was so bloody cold, but it was great. And then they should have stopped.
Yeah. Or just do them once every
4 years.
Yeah.
I don't mind if they had stuck to, we're just going to do the Winter Classic every January 1st, unless it falls on a Sunday and the NFL's playing and they moved it always to the 2nd or whatever. But they played on every January 1st and every maybe 3 or 4 years through in a Heritage Classic to give Canada a game.
Yeah.
January 1st would be great because you might have a couple cocktails the night before. You want to just
absolutely, and it's one of those
wait for football.
If you miss the game, you have to wait 365 to see the next one.
Yeah.
Now, if you missed yesterday, if you missed it, Hernan, I don't know. I don't know if there's another one. I think is there two more? Yeah, the New York ones are still haven't happened. You have two more opportunities this season alone to watch a game outdoors.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the issue with the NHL is it lost its mystique. That's just a game now.
I just don't like how it looks on TV either. I like the game in itself, not the event, but I'm just not a fan of it.
When it was just once a year.
I watch the Oilers game because it's the Oilers, but like any other game I won't watch. I could care less. Sorry.
No, that's
with you.
I think that's where most people are now with this event is that it's the Winter Classic kind of. I think that one still holds a little bit to some people, but for the most part, it's okay. Yeah, another outdoor game. Yeah. Cool.
Like working at Commonwealth, like we saw the transition and how they set. It's awesome seeing that. Like that part is cool. Seeing how they set it up and everything, and it was great. And the crowd was great here too, but. And again, you're a little more into it and biased because it's in your home city and it's a team you like and all that. So it's different. But yesterday's game, I could care less.
All right, now I just dished out big money for my Elks tickets.
Okay.
What's happening with those boys this year?
Well, we're
February 12th is free agency.
Free agency. We're working hard to prepare for our 75th season, which is going to be awesome. Yeah. I don't want to reveal too much, but we're just working hard. We have a great group there. Hoping for more wins, of course, and a fun time. And the schedule, you guys saw the release and all that, and I think it's our best schedule since I've been there. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I love that you play every team now, home and away, right?
Back to playing that way.
What did you guys think of the schedule?
I like it.
For the Elks.
It was good. It worked out nice, I think. I like Sunday games in the summer.
I really like Sunday games in the summer.
Okay. I think I love the 5 o'clock Sunday. I think they're just an amazing time.
Because even if you're out at the lake Friday, you can get home.
Yeah, it's true.
Go get a game. And those afternoon games are great for the kids going.
Yeah.
Right.
And for the tailgaters, Sunday afternoon,
10 o'clock.
You could go have a great time. And then the game gets going, and it's a Sunday, and it's just I don't know. I love the Sundays in the summer. I'm glad the CFL's back to doing that this year, and I would prefer a Sunday than a Thursday.
I think we only have one Thursday, and I think it's on the road too.
Yeah. So I like that. I'm not a big fan. I don't care about having seen everyone twice.
Oh really?
I like divisional matchups. I like seeing the Elks play Calgary, BC, Saskatchewan, and I'll throw even Winnipeg more than only playing them a couple times. I'm okay seeing Montreal, Toronto, Hamilton, or Ottawa only once every 2 years in Edmonton.
Do you find it weird that we're in Calgary in October? It's just for me. It's so because for me, like it's always after Labor Day, you're done with Calgary.
No, because I remember when the Elks would take on Calgary 4 times in a season, and you would have
we did in 2022, but it was all early,
right? But so like. I remember seeing Calgary early. You get the Labor Day, and then seeing Calgary later. And that, once you get to the 9th team, it's hard to do that. And if they ever get to 10 teams, it's impossible to do that if you play everyone twice, because that's 18 games right there.
Yeah,
I'd love them to get to 10 teams.
Oh, me too.
And I don't mind playing. I think it's good to see. I think it's better for the league to play everybody.
Oh, me too. Well, I think you still played everybody, but you didn't.
You
didn't go out east. Or,
You only played teams once, and some were on the road, some were at home.
Yeah.
Or you played a couple teams once.
Because in 2022 we didn't go to Toronto, and then last year we didn't go to Montreal.
And Montreal came here.
Yeah.
But you guys did 2 Ottawa last year. Did you guys play in Ottawa this last year?
Yeah, home and home.
So they're like I think you played everyone. Yeah, you played everyone twice except for one team or something, or 2 teams.
Except for Montreal.
Yeah, so
we only played them once.
Yeah, and that's how it worked. So I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that too.
But now we're back to the 2. If you get to 10, it can't be that way. Excuse me.
No, you can't. So
because I don't want to see just Edmonton take on Calgary only at Labor Day.
Although the Labor Day Classic's always fun.
Absolutely.
And they moved it to 4, instead of 5.
Oh, did they? Yeah. I didn't see if there was times.
Yeah.
So they moved it up just slightly. It needs to go back to 2:30.
It needs to go back to 2:30.
It needs to go back.
That's
to
what I'm like.
Yeah. Well, and for even people to travel, 2:30 games
most
over.
People won't travel now because it's
5:30. Yeah, right? 5:30. I could get back. I'm home at 8:30.
I mean, they want to try and keep people in town, stay at the hotels and stuff. But 2:30s. That was such a
great
beautiful Sunday sunny afternoon.
It was perfect. Yeah.
I think EST will have to go to Labor Day this year. I
Yes,
think
on
that's what we'll have to
location.
do. On location. That will wrap up the first edition of the EST Hangout, presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar for 2024. Don, Hernan, really appreciate you guys coming
Thank you
in.
Thanks for having us. Happy
on
New
the
Year to
first
everybody.
show. Yeah, Happy New Year,
And,
2024.
Contemporary Office Interiors, COI.BZ, COI.business is where you can, if you're looking for some office furniture, that's how you can get in touch with Don and Hernan Salas with the Edmonton Elks. GoElks.com is, if you want to go buy tickets, go shop
guess
their
it's horns,
store.
eh?
Hey, we could do horns up maybe for the Elks. Maybe
Horns
that's
up.
a thing we got to start is not horns down, but horns
Horns
up
up.
for the
Horns
Edmonton
up.
Elks.
Horns up. Yeah.
On behalf of Don, Hernan, I'm Matt. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop with Huss and the boys from Cool Bets. I'll be back with Gager at noon for 2 guys and a goalie, and then the Oil Stream pregame show with Tommy and YouTube Trev. 5:30 tonight as the Oilers get set for the Flyers. Who wins tonight?
Oilers 5-2.
I'm just gonna say it's gonna go to overtime again.
Just not going to make a pick then? It's just overtime. That's
Let's
your
go
pick?
Edmonton. Yeah.
There we go.
Torts is going to lose it, and it's going to be 5-2.
Philadelphia's a surprisingly good team.
Well, won't be tonight.
That's another show.
No, that's the
based
thing,
on
yeah.
your guys' predictions. But thanks for tuning into the Hangout. We're back with the Hangout tomorrow. Again, Lock Shop coming up next.
Bye, everybody.